welcome to episode indeterminate.
Maybe 82?
Maybe 83.
We're not sure. But it's an important one today. It's probably, if it was based on the number of times we get asked this question in the gym, it should be our most popular episode ever.
Yeah, we get asked this question a lot.
Which is unfortunate because it's not actually our main field.
But it's pretty relevant. And the question is, tell me about protein.
Should I take protein shakes? Do I need them? And it's a multifactorial question with multifactorial answer. So we're going to unpack it over the next 20, 30 minutes, however long it takes. But the impetus for this and the inspiration came from a former athlete of ours, Luke Gerke.
Hey, Luke.
Thanks for the question. He asked us about the anabolic window.
Yeah.
And which is the concept that usually it's determined as 30 minutes, the 30 minutes post-workout, your body is more receptive to protein. And if you don't eat protein in that time, the workout was a waste of time.
More receptive to nutrients.
Nutrients, in general.
Yeah.
And so the concept is, and in the extreme sense, people go, well, if you don't eat in that 30 minutes, your workout was a waste of time.
People are hilarious. They're like, oh, you missed the window.
You've missed the anabolic window, it's all over, and that's the end of the world.
Yeah, because window, we'll talk more in detail about it, but window is actually the wrong term, because window implies...
Hard borders. Yeah, and a cutoff.
Well, yeah, like the window's closed.
Exactly. Whereas it's a little more grey than that. It's not just black and white.
The anabolic funnel or the anabolic pipeline doesn't sound as good.
No, we'll work on that as
Should we talk about protein the recovery response and then the specifics?
We should go back a step, talk about protein in general, the recovery response, and then it's anabolic window and shakes from there. I think is probably a good progression. Yeah, nice. Right. So protein is a macronutrient. We have three main ones: fat, which is super energy dense; carbohydrates, which is the main fuel source that most people get; and then protein, which has the same amount of calories per gram or kilojoules, depending on which unit you use, as carbs do. So carbs and protein have about the same amount of energy. Protein is made up of amino acids. So amino acids, let's not get too technical here, but amino acids, they get linked together in a peptide chain, and that forms a protein. You eat that, your body breaks down that peptide chain, absorbs the amino acids, and uses those. Your body produces some amino acids, so there are 20 total, and your body can produce on its own 11. So it can take a bit of this and a bit of that and put together some of the amino acids.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's so cool. And it's the same with some fats. So some fats you have to eat because your body can't produce them, but others you have to get from diet. So when it comes to protein, there's
Sorry, you said some you have to eat and some you have to get from diet.
Sorry, some you have to eat and some your body will produce yourself. Thank you. But when it comes to protein, there's 9 essential ones.
Yep.
So you have to get those.
Can you name them?
Leucine, tryptophan, one starts with A, arginine.
Glutamine? Is that one?
There will be a list. 3 or 5.
I was just curious.
That's terrible, yeah.
But you've named the leucine's probably the one to rule them all.
And we'll talk a lot about that with the anabolic window in a second. So leucine's a big deal. When we talk about protein sources, the reason we talk so much about animal sources, so particularly meat and eggs, they're called complete proteins. That means when it's complete protein, it contains all of the 9 essential amino acids. Yep. So that's why vegetarians and vegans need to be a little careful, or people who don't eat much meat need to be careful that they're getting a rounded source of protein to cover all those essential amino acids.
And so, you get an incomplete amino acid profile in wheat, and you get an incomplete amino acid profile in
beans, for example.
But if you mix the two together, you can often end up covering your bases.
Exactly. So that's why vegetarians need to be eating a little bit of nuts, a little bit of legumes, beans, rice, grains, oats, chia, things like that, or whatever it might be, in order to cover all those bases. Where if you're a carnivore or an omnivore, just have a piece of chicken, have a steak, and you've got all 9 in there, in different ratios, but you've got them all covered.
How aware are you of, when you're doing your nutrition, of making sure that you're getting a complete profile?
Yeah, so I'm a vegetarian. Pretty aware. It's always on my mind that maybe not in the same day, but over the course of the week, I'm getting a varied. So I'll eat a little bit of tofu, I eat a little bit of soy stuff, I eat pea protein and whey protein as well. So I'm getting a fair bunch of that there. But then I'll have beans one day, nuts the other. And so I'm mixing it up, to make sure I'm getting variety. And lots of different coloured veggies and different stuff over the week. So it is on my mind quite a bit.
It's not mine at all.
Just eat steak.
Steak, chicken, eggs, and dairy.
Yeah, so that's...
And some fish.
Yeah. Fish is good. Salmon, you're a big salmon fan, aren't you? Yeah. So that's, I suppose, your sources, and that's the breakdown of what it is. I suppose we should next talk about functions, what protein actually does for the body.
Because I think it gets pigeonholed as you only need to worry about protein if you want to get massive.
Yeah, it's just for bodybuilders.
Yeah. But, it's what we're made of.
We are second most abundant molecule in the body.
Yeah.
We are water, and then protein second.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. And it has a role in so much of our regeneration of our body. It's such a big deal. Why don't you talk about that? Because I think so yes, it's still important for building muscle.
Yeah.
But that's the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah, for sure. So builds muscle, and so therefore tendon as well. Tendons, we have collagen, which is a type of protein. But also your bone. This is the thing that I think not enough people are aware of, but bone is an adaptive tissue. It isn't just set like concrete. It changes based on stress, based on nutrition, based on lifespan stage, all those things. And it's actually, and we also always think of bone and we think of calcium. But there's actually, your bone by weight is mostly protein.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so your bone is, I think it's like 2% calcium.
Yeah, you just think of it as being like this calcium
the big
matrix.
block of calcium. Like
Yeah.
No, it's calcium littered amongst it, magnesium and phosphorus and all that stuff. But the majority of your bone is protein.
There you go. So my mentor, Bruce Gray, Bruce is a famous protein eater. Like it's a lot of protein.
And shakes too.
Yeah. And he just has a lot of it, and also lifts heavy. And I remember him telling me that he'd had his bone density checked because he was just curious. And he's in his 60s. And they were like, you have the bone density of a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
You know? Because he's got that perfect mix of the nutrition plus the load.
And the weight training, yeah, exactly. So there's muscle, there's tendon, there's ligaments, there's bone. So if you have an injury, increasing your protein intake will accelerate your recovery. Laying down scar tissue, stitching things back together. Bone health, of course, so that means teeth as well. Your hormones. There's a whole class of hormones called peptide hormones or protein hormones that derive from protein. So anything that ends with "ine" or "in" is a peptide hormone. So insulin is
really
cortisone, O-N-E, is a steroid hormone. So testosterone, estrogen, O-N, cortisone, anything O-N-E, so is a steroid, which means it's derived from fat, versus I-N-E or I-N, they're the peptide hormones, the protein hormones.
Yeah.
So ghrelin, insulin, leptin, they're all peptide hormones.
There you go.
Yeah. Good work, science.
Yeah.
They nailed that, didn't they? So that means it's derived. So if you are deficient in a certain amino acid, you may very well be deficient in certain hormones.
And it's such a complicated system. Like you don't want to be deficient in stuff because the knock-on effect is so complex.
You're slightly lower in this compared to that. So it's a fascinating situation you've got going on. So there's hormones. There's tissue. So skin and hair as well. Not just bones and muscles, but your skin and hair quality will be determined by that. The next thing that's really interesting is your enzymes. So enzymes are kind of like, I suppose you consider them like the key to the lock, if you will, in your body. Enzymes are the things that, I always struggle to explain it. They're kind of the things that unlock processes or part of the process in your body. Dome, your turn.
It's really hard to explain. I'm pretty strong. My analogy game is reasonably good.
Yeah, you've got a good metaphor in you.
Complimented on that quite regularly, thanks arts degree. But I don't know. I don't think lock is particularly good. But let's not try and be analogous about it and just talk about it. So you need enzymes because they are in charge of chemical processes that create energy that do stuff.
They're like the middlemen of processes. They're the things that turn, say, for example, you consume.
Let's tell us a story. Give us an example. Yeah.
You ingest or you eat carbohydrates. Your body then requires the enzyme GLUT4 to transport, which we'll talk about in a second, to transport that carbohydrate into the muscle. That's an enzyme. Your body wants to build more muscle mass. That's mTOR. That is the enzyme that sort of triggers other enzymes to lay down the protein to repair the damage and to build bigger muscles.
I can't believe that I hadn't thought of mTOR as an enzyme. Like I'm all across cell signaling pathways, but I just hadn't thought about the fact that it's an enzyme.
Yeah, so mTOR, and we'll talk about that more in a second, but that's the main guy. And often an enzyme will trigger another enzyme, which will trigger another enzyme, which will then trigger a process. And often that process is protein synthesis. So turning that protein turn those amino acids back into a protein, whether it be your muscles, whether it be bone tissue, whether it be tendons, whether it be skin. So that's kind of cool there.
That's really cool. Enzymes are a big deal too. Like
massive.
When you talk fitness, people often think that it's all about just the heart as a pump and the lungs as these bellows. And if you've got a better pump, better bellows, you are fitter. But so often it's actually your metabolic fitness, your enzymes.
The limiting factors,
having your phosphofructokinase.
And friends.
Really good, Okay, so I guess the last thing to talk about will be the neural nervous system stuff with protein? Is that?
I wasn't even going to touch on that. I thought that was beyond our time limit. You want to give it a crack?
No, I don't. I want you to give it. I want you to give it a crack.
Well, I'm not prepared for this. So the nervous system is made primarily of fat.
Yep.
Which is not a protein. Mm-hmm. I'm stalling here.
But if you're having a big fatty steak.
Yes, you get fats and protein. Yeah. I'm pretty fuzzy on the neural protein stuff. I'm going to be honest here.
Yeah.
Maybe there should be like a little part 2.
All right, we'll look into it. Because the thing is, I would be very surprised if it wasn't of importance there as well. It's just that we don't know about it much.
Yeah, so the fatty part of your brain is the myelin sheathing, the stuff that coats the axons. But there's definitely, hormones and neurotransmitters are made of protein, and they're the signals that go around the brain. Yeah. But the actual construction of the brain, I'm a little fuzzier on.
But it's tissue, so it's going to have a significant protein component.
Well, it's 80% fat, so there's not really much left.
Yeah, okay. 80%?
80%, maybe. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty certain of that, like 80% fat.
We'll do a tiny little part 2 with our findings on that.
Protein in the brain.
Yeah.
But neural function is going to have a big role because it's going to help your neurotransmitters and your hormones do their thing. And then, like we talked about a couple of episodes ago, that keeps everything balanced and working.
So protein's a big deal. It's not just for getting massive. It's the building block of so much of what we do. And you need to get a complete amino acid profile for it to really be
all
counting.
9 of them. Yep.
Let's talk about actual sources of protein quickly.
Yeah, sure. Yep. So meat is your number one because that's got a complete. Often we talk about in terms of grams per 100. Yeah. And we made a little infographic a couple of weeks ago,
which was really good.
Which is in our article as well. So we'll link to our protein article, which is connected to this. So check that out. In terms of grams per 100 grams of cooked weight, meat typically sits around 30. So 30 grams for every 100 grams of chicken you eat, there's about 30 to 40 grams of protein in that, depending on how fatty it is, the cut. There's variations, but that's the general rule. When it comes to things like, so the vegetarian most common source is things like beans. So black beans are phenomenal. They sit more like about 20 to 25 grams.
I didn't realize they were that high.
Black beans are really high. Things like chickpeas.
But is it really high and incomplete?
Yeah, it's high in certain amino acids, so not all of them. So you couldn't just live on black beans exactly. You'd then need to get a bit of soy, a bit of nuts, stuff like that. Nuts vary a lot. Some nuts, like macadamias, for example, are really fatty. While other nuts, like almonds, are actually pretty good. So they've got like maybe 10 grams per 100, 5 to 6 grams per 100.
Given how tasty they are.
Oh, almonds delicious. But you'd have to check each nut individually. So Brazil nuts are pretty fatty. And then
when you said that, I thought, like... You pick each nut up and you go, how much protein?
I wonder how much you've got. On the nutritional level. It's probably a better idea. Eggs are phenomenal.
Yeah, eggs are great.
Eggs have got about 6 grams per egg.
Initially, when I found out how much protein there was in an egg, I was a bit disappointed because I'm like, that's not much. But the thing is, you never just have an egg.
It's always 3 or 4. Yeah, exactly. Or 2 or 3. Yeah. Exactly. Eggs are also complete. And the other thing that's awesome about eggs is the egg white contains most of the protein, but the egg yolk, that's where all the nutrients are. That's where your magnesium, your phosphorus, all the minerals, because eggs are quite good for minerals like zinc and stuff like that. That's where that is. So iron, zinc, magnesium, phosphorus, there's other stuff in the yolk. That's all in the yolk.
Fats in there
and the good
well.
fats too. Yeah. So your eggs kind of nice. You got the protein on the outside, and you got
that's pretty cool.
The health kick in the inside. So meat, eggs, dairy. Is sometimes over talked and overhyped for its protein content. I think, particularly milk. So it's like more like 4 or 5 grams per 100 mil. When it comes to milk, but things like cottage cheese, which you're a big fan of.
I love cottage cheese.
It's like more like 15 grams per 100. As is natural and Greek yogurt.
There's a good milk that I'm having now. I've forgotten the name of it. It's got an AIS sticker on it, and it's a extra high protein milk.
Oh right, yeah, like kind of like the A2 idea.
But better.
But even better still.
And it tastes really good. And that's, as a default, we buy that for me because I'm like, oh, well, if I'm going to have a milk, I might as well have one with a little bit more protein in it.
Nice.
And then, and I think the thing is with dairy is people went away from it too far.
Yeah, it's like eggs. It swings and roundabouts.
I feel like bodybuilders and people wanting to gain weight went too far for it. But then general pop, you talk to people and you're like, oh yeah, sometimes I have a tiny bit of milk in my coffee. It's like, no, you need some calcium. You still need to be getting some.
The whole calcium from milk thing is interesting. I think it's in the middle of a shift where that milk is the worst thing ever. In that they're saying that people who there's some interesting studies saying there's a correlation between less milk, more milk consumed, more likely to get osteoporosis.
Is that because they think of a leaching thing?
Well, I think the theory is that you overconsume, so your body gets so used to having such a ready supply of it that it doesn't do a good job of holding onto it. Kind of like when you drink more water, you'll weed out more water.
Yeah.
Same with calcium, but on a longer term. But I'd be interested to see if there's some that's only correlation studies.
Yeah, I want to see where that lands.
I want to see some long-term ones because it's so hard to get enough calcium from almonds, spinach, and broccoli.
You've got to eat a lot of spinach.
Like you've seen the milk. Yeah. So I think it might end up that we end up having maybe a little bit less dairy, but still a bit. Because I still think there's some benefit there for that.
And also it tastes nice.
It tastes good too. Yeah. So there's some benefits there. So milk in general is pretty low, but things like Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are a bit better. Yeah. When it comes to your protein.
My thing on that too is have the full fat stuff. Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, I did an episode with my mum when I was back home that time, and we talked about how important how skim milk is actually the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I just have the full fat. It's still a really low fat food, and it's twice as delicious. Yeah.
And then I suppose the last source we should touch on is soy products like tofu and tempeh and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did a little research this morning, a little digging around. There's a big sort of understanding or myth or piece of knowledge that suggests that having too much soy, particularly for males, lowers testosterone and increases estrogen.
Yeah.
I had a look at it this morning. It's a myth.
Is it really?
It's based on some poor studies. And there's some other studies that said men had I think they called it normal to normally high SIRS, which was about 2 servings of tofu per day. No problems. No reproductive problems, no fertility problems, no testosterone level differences.
Yeah, right.
There's also some studies in animals that showed it lowered. Yeah. So it's a bit of a watch this space, but it's not as bad as they thought.
Right.
So personally, as a vegetarian, I'm probably having soy or tofu maybe once, maybe twice a week.
Okay.
But that's about it. I'm not going to soy shakes every single day.
Yep.
And going, look at me, I'm a vegan or anything like that. I'm still having whey protein.
Okay.
Which brings us to the whole point of today's episode.
Yes.
The anabolic window. So that's I think that's a good background.
I think so. That's good. It's great. Yeah. So the anabolic window is real.
Sorry, Luke.
Do you think?
Don't let me assume here, Luke. But I thought Luke was expecting us to blow it out of the water and say it was ridiculous. That's kind of what I expect most people when they ask us about this to think.
Okay. Yeah. It's a real thing, and you want to maximize where you can the advantage you can gain out of it. You can absorb approximately triple the rate of nutrients,
depending on the individual, depending on the type of workout.
And if you worked out intensely anaerobically, it can take up to 48 hours to fully replenish your glycogen stores.
It can be a big load. Like if you play a full game of footy, you're still recovering on the Monday. Sure.
And so the more that you can absorb in that first 30 to 60 minutes is really, really important. So anabolic window is real. You should take advantage of it.
The thing where it becomes a myth is people go, that idea of like we talked about before, closing the window. It's not like 30 minutes and that's it. You wasted your time. Now you're going to be suffering for a week. It's more like the closer you can get, the better. The longer you wait, the slower.
Yeah, because I think the way I like to think of it is you're a race car, and you are in for a pit stop, and you can choose whether you have a nozzle that is really big that just like slams that petrol into the tank,
down the tank,
or you can have a more normal size. And I think the important thing is to understand is it's not like it goes from jumbo size to micro. It's not like it's like 31 minutes, bang. Like it's just over the course of 90 minutes, it's going to gradually be less and less. So you've got to also balance the desire for getting that food in with palatability
and spewability.
Yeah, because if you're going to take it in and then feel crappy, you're probably not going to do it. So it's got to be, some people can't eat for quite a while after a game. So I'd say to them, well, you have a shake and then just as soon as you're able to get some food in.
Yeah. And that nozzle you mentioned, that nozzle has a name, and it's one key enzyme that I mentioned before. It's GLUT4.
Yep.
So in your muscle cells, we have GLUT4 is a glucose transporter.
Yep.
And it sends itself to the surface of the cell and says, give me glucose.
Yep.
And it's super receptive along with insulin. Yep. And the insulin helps pump the protein and the glucose around your body.
Yep.
And so post-workout, your body has the tripling. I think it's the GLUT4 that is tripled.
Okay.
Triple the rate, and it's just alive. It's ready to absorb nutrients because it wants to recover and repair.
Yep.
And so that's the thing that is your wide nozzle. And so it's not like all of a sudden, 31 minutes, all the GLUT4 dies.
It's gradually.
And they just fade away into the background. The other thing that's interesting is often people will compare the post-anabolic window with the pre-consumption. So you have your shake before the workout, during the workout, or after. It doesn't really matter whether you have it, just as long as it's around the time you're working. So if you prefer to have your shake before versus after, actually from a science point of view, they have about the same effect.
Yeah.
When it comes to recovery rates and muscle growth.
And the case I would make would always be, well, actually, you should, if you are a skinny kid trying to put on muscle, you should be sipping on a shake during your workout, so there's no danger of being catabolic
Or BCAAs.
Yeah. And then, which we should talk about in a
in a second.
And then you should have a proper shake afterwards. Like, you should do both. Yeah.
Exactly.
So BCAAs, branched chain amino acids.
There's 3 of them. So there's 3, but the main one is leucine, which we touched on earlier.
So leucine is kind of like flipping the switch on recovery and on being anabolic, isn't it?
It is the key upregulator or switch for mTOR, that enzyme we mentioned before, the hypertrophy and the muscle recovery enzyme. So leucine has a particularly high response. This is why whey protein is so good, because it's particularly high in leucine, and it triggers that guy and turns it on.
And the nice thing about BCAAs is you can play sport. I don't think you want to play sport and drink a protein shake. That's not a good idea. But you can play sport and have a small amount of BCAAs in your sports drink, and you're fine.
Yeah, and you can even get ones that taste kind of like sports drinks as well. Yeah, they're just on their own, and you just sip away at those.
So they're quite good as well. Recently, Precision Nutrition, who we love, linked to a thing where it discredited them a little bit, it said they weren't the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I don't think there's some sort of magical muscle saver that means you never get sore ever. I think they're just part of the puzzle.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So that's BCAAs, great for during workout and pre-workout. We should talk about protein shakes now.
Yes.
What everyone came here for. Do you take protein shakes?
Yeah. So I like to have a shake after I've worked out, and I keep it pretty simple. Mostly it'll just be milk and whey protein concentrate, or whey protein isolate. I always have done. It's a good way to get that rapid hit of easily absorbable protein. Yeah. My tummy seems to like it because after you've trained, you can't eat it just any old thing. Yeah. In the immediate post-training.
When you're still cooked,
exactly. I think it's really good. And I think as long as it's done as a supplement rather than substitute for great eating. They're called supplements for a reason.
Yeah, that means it should complement and supplement your normal eating.
Yeah, it's not like you do that instead of. Because a lot of kids, a lot of athletes in general will take it too far and they're like all of a sudden having heaps of shakes and not
only having shakes and no meat.
No, you need real food. Yeah.
And so protein, I suppose we should talk about protein powder, is whey protein isolate and whey protein concentrate. They're basically just they've taken milk, so curds and whey from the old fairy tale. Yeah. The curds are the fat part, the whey is the protein part. Yeah. So they extract and they do it through microfiltration.
See, they used to throw away.
They used to throw it away, and so the body was like, actually, we want that.
Yeah.
And so they turn it and they powderize it and they turn it into a powder. So it's basically just milk. The protein part of milk sucked out.
Good bit of milk minus the lactose.
Yep. Yeah. When it comes to lactose, whey protein isolate is extra filtrated. So WPC, whey protein concentrate, is just the first pass, if you will. That has a little bit of lactose in it, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of fat. Tends to be better for the immune system, that one, because it has sort of the colostrum type benefits, which we're not going to touch on today. But then the whey protein isolate, that one has that one's further filtered, so that one's taken down another step. It's higher in concentration for protein. It's faster absorbed again, so it's the fastest. It's like hits the muscles running. Yeah, and then it is like at 99% lactose free.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So
it's pretty kind on your system. It's
much better on the tummy. Yeah, you can also get in the dairy form. You can also get casein. Which is the opposite though. So WPC and WPI, they are fast absorbed post-workout type shakes. Casein is a before bed one. So slow digesting, sits in your system for a while, it sort of fills you up. So that one's the opposite.
Yeah. And you got to look at your timing. Like if it's straight after training, you want something fast absorbed. If it's just before bed, you want something slow absorbed. But a lot of people find that casein's a bit problematic for a night's sleep.
Tummy problems. Yeah.
Some people find soy is really good for if you're really skinny and you're trying to put some muscle mass on. The soy before bed, because it doesn't give you the tummy problems, but you're giving your body something to feed overnight.
And it's pretty much got an identical profile to whey protein concentrate and soy. So it's got a little bit of sugar, a little bit of fat in there, and it's moderately fast digested, so it's okay. The other protein you can get is pea.
Yeah, I don't like it. I've tried it like twice.
Yeah, I do a half pea, half whey blend.
Does it make you farty?
No comment.
That's a yes, isn't it?
It's a little bit, yeah. So it's not great on the tummy. You do get used to it after you've had it for a couple of weeks, so that goes away. But it tastes like chalk.
It tasted horrible. It made me fart, and I was like, "You're dead to me." Yeah. And it sat there.
That's the basic sentiment when it comes to whey protein. Pea protein. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's another one. So there's the milk ones. There's soy. There's pea, and then there's hemp protein, which is a little bit of reading on this one, which is not linked to the illicit cannabis version.
Yeah.
But hemp protein is about half protein by weight. So the others are all about 80 to 90%. This one's only about 50%, but it has a bunch of fiber and it has a bunch of omega-3 fats in it.
Really?
So no idea on the taste, never tried it, but
you can be the guinea pig.
I'll give that a test. But from a more well-rounded sort of a meal replacement almost type sense, that one's better. So not post-workout, but
other times.
maybe it's like a morning tea snack type thing. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the types of shakes. As far as which one you need, because everyone's like, oh, what brand? What type do you recommend?
Well, if you are an athlete that's going to be drug tested, you should use a type that is batch tested.
Yep.
So that's really important.
Which is hard to find because Asada and WADA don't really recommend many. They try and stay away from that.
Body Science, I know for a fact, batch tested.
Cool.
And if you are not going to be drug tested, and I mean the whole thing about what happens, someone gets caught taking steroids and they go, oh, someone put steroids in my protein powder.
Oh my goodness.
How could this have happened? It's like that's like for accidentally finding gold in your Cocoa Pops.
Yeah.
Like they're not deliberately putting expensive,
dangerous, life-threatening gold. Let's just clarify.
Yeah. Dangerous, life-threatening gold. Good clarification. But I just mean I meant in terms of expensive.
Yeah. But there are also some of the people that make protein powders, they also do produce pre-workout stuff. Yeah. And some of those pre-workouts are a little bit questionable.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I would stay well clear of those, and I would stay with something like Body Science, which
reputable
does
brands.
Batch testing. Now, as far as what athlete's going to be tested, if you're playing I did my Asada level 2 not that long ago. If you are any athlete playing any sport at any level in Australia, or with a ref and a proper court, or if you paid fees to play or you're being paid, your chance to be tested.
You're at a theoretical risk.
Domestic basketball, club soccer, futsal, like theoretically.
If you're outside of if you're a pro player, don't comment on this because we assume you are being tested. I'd be really curious to see if anyone has actually ever been tested
at a non-professional level.
Yeah. It'd be really interesting.
So for our state and national level representatives, stay legit. Like keep everything good.
Keep everything good. Yeah.
But as far as the brands go, this one's Shred, this one Bulks. I would be aiming for the brands. They're all so similar. It's all just marketing.
Just don't get a mass builder.
Yes,
full of maltodextrin. Just get an isolate.
Stay with something that's above 85% protein by 100 grams. So if you look at the label, look at the protein content per 100 grams. As long as that's over 85, it's going to be pretty good. Sometimes they have different sweeteners. Some are natural, some are artificial, some have got sugar in them. As long as it's over 85 to 90% protein by weight by 100 grams, I think you're pretty good.
Yeah,
and then taste and economics come into it after that, I think.
Cool. So eat your protein.
Yeah. And actually, one last thing before we wrap up. It's not just for muscles. Like when it comes to the anabolic window, when it comes to your post-workout repair, it's not just about building big muscles. It's about helping your bones, helping your immune system, lowering your cortisol levels, bringing your body back into a state of anabolism so it can recover, not just build massive muscles.
Anabolism not to be big, but just to recover back from the stress of the workout.
Yeah, so if you're an athlete, so you can train again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing multiple sessions in a day or training back to back, you want to return that glycogen, return that protein to the muscle so you can sprint, so you can jump, so you can explode, whatever it might be.
Cool.
That'll do. That's my last caveat.
All right, very good.
Cool. So on Random Thoughts, well, this will be our last weekly episode for a little while. We're going to go fortnightly. The episodes are starting getting a little longer.
Yeah. Again, it's a really busy time of the year for us. And I think we just need to knuckle down on the coaching side of the business. And so we've focused on that. And we'll just go fortnightly until further notice. So sorry if you're getting a weekly fix, it'll be fortnightly, but we're not phasing our way out. We're going to keep doing this, but just a little less frequently.
Slightly longer episodes, a little more in depth, but less frequent. I will still
maybe slightly longer. Sometimes we won't waffle. If it needs to be shorter, it'll be shorter.
I'll still post the archive episodes every week, though.
Yeah, cool.
So you'll still get an archive fix. That'll be on the podcast only, though, not on the video.
Okay, great. All right, awesome. See you next time.